course, it's been well known what's happened with Erebus and the change in drivers and everything. But your plan hasn't really been affected too much by that in terms of driver lineup. So you knew last year, of course, Will was going off to Red Bull, and we've discussed that anyway, your relationship with Will and how that must have been. But then you've got Jack coming in, and of course there was the stuff with Brodie and that happened. But one thing I wanted to touch on was how that must have been for yourself and Jack as well, not having the benchmark of Brodie. And then also as an engineer, one thing we've all heard about Brodie is how good his feedback is, and sometimes maybe too much involved in that side of it as opposed to just driving the car. But the first, pre-season test and the first 2 events, what was it like not having Brodie there to help yourself and Jack steer the ship? And do you think that's affected the performance of the car in these first 2 events as well, not having him around?
It's sort of... Brodie's feedback helps him a lot, sort of thing. So the way that, say, Will and I or Jack and I would operate, their feedback is enough to drive our car setup to a certain degree.
Yeah.
Brodie definitely drives a lot of his feedback is able to drive his car setup with George. It's just the dynamic that the engineer driver has. Yeah. So the way that Brodie and George are able to communicate really works really well for them. The way Will and I are able to communicate works really well for us. Yeah. And of course you learn things and cross over to both cars as well. So I wouldn't necessarily say that Brodie not being there for the first test and the first 2 rounds has, like, if he was there, I can't say the cars would be completely different now.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. I don't think we've missed out on a lot because I still had to develop the dynamic with Jack, how he likes the car, how he likes it to be tuned. And we've definitely found things that are slightly different this year to last year, that Jack likes the car one way, and it's not just how he likes it, it makes him go faster as well.
And I guess even some people might not realise that during a race, weekend, or even a day at the track, you're not actually... because I don't want to take credit away from what you do with your driver, because during a session, and particularly on a test day, you don't get a chance to debrief with the other car anyway until the end of the day or after a session when it's all hindsight anyway. And you might be able to improve a little bit or find something, or just give yourself confidence in a change you made that they made the same one and it worked as well, or the feedback was similar. But I guess as well for Jack, it must have been something he would have been looking forward to, was benchmarking himself against Brodie.
Yeah, I think that would have been the bigger loss for sort of my side of the garage, is more to Jack, because he would have been looking forward so much to, because that's, you know what it's like, a 2-car team, you're constantly overlaying to the other car, and to be able to overlay to the benchmark in the category and the series champion would have been extremely beneficial to him. Would that have changed our results at this point in the year? Maybe. I would probably not, but it would have been he would have been looking forward to it, and something that he would have thought he was going to miss out on for the season. So
you were the benchmarks last year, teams champion plus drivers championship, won both of them. Yeah, okay, the Brodie stuff. So what's the difference then? If you don't think it would have made a heap of difference to the development of the cars or the speed of the cars from Christmas to round 1, what's the difference been then? Because, obviously everyone got so used to seeing you guys top 3 in every session last year, most time across both cars as well. Where this year you obviously haven't had that. Doesn't look like you've had that outright pace from previous year. Why is that, mate? What's your opinion?
It's probably not as bad as it looks from the outside, I think. Like, anytime you get a new driver, I don't know, you could sort of say a new driver, new team, there's always like a teething period, but then Will's just jumped into the T8 and has just gone in all guns blazing. So I think, Will very well could have won the championship last year as well. We'll lead the championship half through the year, all that sort of stuff. So I think he's by far and away one of the best drivers in the category. And he's just gone into a team that's extremely experienced, heavily resourced, all that sort of stuff. And we just, obviously there's been a little bit of disruption in our probably development on the car 99 side of things, at least, because George is sort of adjusting the car to suit Todd early in the year, and now we're sort of adjusting it to suit Brodie, that sort of stuff. But if we hadn't had the DNF with Jack at the Grand Prix, we'd be 4th in the Drivers' Championship at the moment. It's come 20th that race, we would be 4th in the Drivers' Championship. So if you had offered me that at the start of the year, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll take that. That's awesome. To be behind 2 888 cars and Chaz, it's probably not as bad as it appears from the outside.
It is one of those seasons, though, where we've seen that a lot with people. It's like, we talked about it in the first pod, where we were, a lot of people have made mistakes or been caught up in things that weren't necessarily their own fault. So it's like, there's probably a few of those stories, though, where...
Yeah, everyone has that story, don't they?
It's kind of like after qualifying, every driver, there's someone I used to call three tenths, because every time we went into a debrief, it's like, I was 3 tenths up and then this happened. But
sounds like me.
It's, I think that, I guess... Yeah, I've been surprised, and even for Brodie, I did think he would have been... he qualified 3rd, which is really impressive considering how.
Yeah, and it was
how
a matter
stacked
of
the field is at the
hundredths to
moment.
pole. Like
But then, his race pace, the deg, wasn't as good as Jack's. I thought Jack seemed a lot stronger in the race than Brodie was.
On Jack's side, you say he would have been fourth without the DNF. Where is he now? Is he sixth or seventh? What's
7th.
right? So
Between 4th and like
Is
12th
nothing.
is like 99 points.
Yeah,
Like,
but-
it's very, very tight.
Yeah.
to Jack's
Good
point
choice
of
of numbers
view,
there,
like
mate.
is that the highest he's run in the championship since he's been in it? It's probably close, wouldn't
It
it?
would be, I would say.
I know last year when we were looking at who we might need to replace Will with, he was about 8th, I think,
Okay.
in the championship, or maybe 8th or 9th. It was sort of like Andre and him were the next best Camaros outside
Yeah.
of
Right.
out of us and Triple Eight.
So I guess that probably highlights, to your point, maybe it's not that far off. It's,
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously, like, and
And even when you look at Will's back end of the year, for whatever reason, he was having a tough time from just before the bend, I think. He was leading before the bend last year.
well, leading out of
And then the
Townsville,
end-
after Sydney, we'd given it back to Bush, and
Yeah.
then Taylor and Bend, the wheels started to fall off a little bit.
And really, where Will finished the year is exactly where Jack's picked up, probably,
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say Jack's probably doing a little bit better now than where we
where you
finished.
finished the season.
Yeah.
Well,
Race
he
result
finished
wise,
it with a smashed up car, so
Yes, we haven't done that yet, which is good.
Yeah. Sealed the championship with that, though.
yeah.
That was ridiculous.
I couldn't believe
that
that.
happened, I know.
And that's
Of all the cars to hit Will as
Yeah, I
well,
know,
like, it's
right?
just one of those
Yeah.
things
And the
that
poor
It's
poor
the
boys
motorsport gods.
that Saturday
Yeah.
night, they're there like all night in the garage. They just won the team's championship, and they got to sit there all night and fix it.